Captain Tony Blake gripped the controls of his ship as warning lights flashed across the dashboard. The Falcon shook violently as it approached the invisible wall that surrounded Earth's solar system. For 30 years, no human ship had been able to pass through this barrier. Tony was determined to be the first. "Come on, baby," he whispered to his ship. Just a little further. The space around him looked normal. Stars twinkled in the distance. But Tony knew better. Something was out there blocking their way to the stars, something that had trapped humanity like animals in a cage. Suddenly the ship stopped, not slowed down, just stopped. Tony pushed the engines to full power, but the Falcon would not move forward. It was like hitting a solid wall made of nothing. "Control, this is Blake. I've hit the barrier again." "Now go." Commander Jake Morrison's voice crackled through the radio. "Copy that, Tony. Come on back." Tony turned his ship around, frustrated. As he flew back toward Earth, he looked at the planet that had become humanity's prison. Cities glowed on the dark side of the world. Millions of people lived down there, and none of them knew why they were trapped. Back at the Deep Space Monitoring Station, Commander Morrison watched Tony's ship return. Jake had been studying the barrier for 15 years. Every day he hoped to find a way through. Every day he failed. Dr. Lisa Park walked into the control room, carrying a cup of coffee and a tablet full of data. Lisa was the smartest person Jake knew. If anyone could figure out this mystery, it would be her. "Any luck with the Falcon?" she asked, same as always. "The barrier stops everything we throw at it." Lisa sat down at her workstation and pulled up her research. For months she had been studying the energy readings from the barrier. What she found scared her. "Jake, you need to see this," she said. Jake walked over to her screen. Lines and numbers filled the display, but Jake could not understand most of it. "What am I looking at?" "Proof that the barrier is not natural. These energy patterns are too organized, too perfect. Someone built this thing." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "Built it? Who?" "I don't know. But whoever did this has technology far beyond anything we can make." Across the city, General Amy Stone sat in her office at the Unified Defense Command. Reports covered her desk. Food shortages in the outer colonies. Mining operations failing because they could not reach the asteroid belt. Earth was running out of resources and there was nowhere else to go. A knock on her door interrupted her thoughts. Captain Blake entered, still wearing his flight suit. "General, I request permission to try again tomorrow." "Tony, you've tried 100 times. The result is always the same." "But maybe if I approach from a different angle or use more power." General Stone held up her hand. "Save your energy, Captain. Dr. Park thinks the barrier is artificial. We need to figure out who built it before we can break it." Tony's shoulders dropped. "Artificial? You mean someone did this to us on purpose?" "That's what we're trying to find out." Meanwhile, in space near the barrier, something was happening that no human could see. Strange ships moved in the darkness beyond the wall. These ships had been there for 30 years, watching and waiting. Inside one of the ships, an alien creature studied displays showing Earth. The creature had 4 arms and skin like silver metal. Its large black eyes showed no emotion as it watched human ships try to break through the barrier. "The humans are getting more persistent," it said to another creature nearby. "It does not matter. The shroud will hold. They cannot leave their system. But what if they find a way?" "They will not. The architects are gone and their defenses sleep. The humans are alone." Back on Earth, Dr. Park worked late into the night. Her computer screen showed wave patterns and energy signatures. Something about the barrier bothered her. The energy readings reminded her of something she had seen before. She pulled up old files from deep space telescopes. Years ago, before the barrier appeared, astronomers had detected strange signals from other star systems. The signals had stopped when the barrier went up. "Jake, wake up," she said into her phone. "Lisa, it's 3 in the morning. I think I know why they built the barrier. We're not alone out there. There are other civilizations and someone doesn't want us to meet them." Jake sat up in bed. "What do you mean?" "Before the barrier appeared, we were detecting radio signals from at least 12 different star systems. All the signals stopped when the wall went up. Someone is keeping us separated from the rest of the galaxy." The next morning, General Stone called an emergency meeting. The top scientists and military leaders gathered in a secure room deep underground. "Ladies and gentlemen," the general began, "Dr. Park has made a discovery that changes everything. The barrier around our solar system is not just keeping us in, it's keeping others out." Dr. Park stood up and activated a holographic display. These are the radio signals we detected before the barrier appeared. They show clear signs of intelligence. Mathematics, prime numbers, even what looks like star maps. So there are aliens out there? Asked Colonel Pete Davis. Yes, and they were trying to talk to us. Someone stopped that conversation. Commander Morrison leaned forward. Who would do such a thing? I don't know, Lisa replied. But I intend to find out. As the meeting continued far below their feet, something stirred in the ice of Antarctica. Deep underground in a place no human had ever seen, ancient machines began to wake up. They had been sleeping for thousands of years, waiting for the right moment. The machines detected the barrier around Earth. They sensed humanity's distress. Slowly, very slowly, they began to remember their purpose. General Stone dismissed the meeting with new orders. I want every telescope pointed at that barrier. I want every computer analyzing the data, and I want our best ships ready to try again. As the leaders left the room, none of them knew that their conversation had been detected by sensors buried in the Antarctic ice. The ancient machines processed their words and began to make decisions. High above Earth, Captain Blake prepared his ship for another attempt. He did not know that this time would be different. The machines under the ice were sending out signals, very weak signals that only they could understand. Dr. Park returned to her laboratory, determined to solve the mystery of the barrier. She did not know that the answer lay sleeping beneath miles of ice and snow, waiting for humanity to prove they were ready for the truth. The universe was much larger and more dangerous than any human could imagine. But deep in the frozen wasteland of Antarctica, something was beginning to wake up, something that had been left behind by an ancient race as a gift for their successors, something called ZEUS. Dr. Sam Kelly pulled his heavy coat tighter as the Antarctic wind howled around him. His team had been digging in the ice for 3 weeks, following strange energy readings that made no sense. The readings were coming from deep underground, deeper than any human structure should be. Dr. Kelly, you need to see this, called Mary Jones, his technology specialist. She was standing near a large hole they had melted through the ice. Sam walked over and looked down into the hole. Metal gleamed in the darkness below, not steel or aluminum, but something that seemed to glow with its own light. That's not human technology, Mary said, her voice full of excitement and fear. Admiral Rick Carter, who had been sent to oversee the expedition, joined them at the edge of the hole. How deep does it go? Our scanners can't find the bottom, Sam replied. Whatever this is, it's huge. The team spent the next day carefully lowering equipment into the hole. What they found made them call General Stone immediately. General, this is Admiral Carter in Antarctica. You need to send more people, a lot more people. What did you find, Admiral? A city, General. An entire city made of metal buried under the ice. And it's not dead. Lights are turning on. General Stone felt her heart skip a beat. Lights? You mean it's active? Yes, ma'am. Whatever this place is, it's waking up. 2 days later, a small army of scientists and soldiers had arrived in Antarctica. They had built a base around the hole and were sending teams down into the metal city below. Sam led the first team deep into the underground complex. The walls were covered in strange symbols that glowed softly in the darkness. The air was warm even though they were hundreds of feet under the ice. This technology is incredible, Mary whispered as she scanned the walls with her instruments. The metal is somehow generating its own heat and light. I've never seen anything like it. They walked through corridors that seemed to go on forever. In some rooms, they found machines that hummed quietly, waiting for something. In others, they discovered what looked like libraries filled with crystal tablets covered in the same glowing symbols. Dr. Kelly, come quickly, called one of his team members from ahead. Sam hurried down the corridor to find his team standing in front of a massive door. The door was covered in symbols, but some of them looked almost familiar. Mary, can you make sense of any of this? Mary held up her scanner and frowned. It's strange. Some of these symbols match mathematical concepts we know, prime numbers, geometric shapes. But others, she shook her head. I need more time. Behind them, Admiral Carter and his soldiers set up a secure perimeter. The Admiral had a bad feeling about this place. It was too advanced, too alien. But the energy readings Dr. Park had detected were definitely coming from here. Over the next week, Mary worked day and night to translate the symbols. She had help from computers back on Earth, but the work was slow. Gradually, a picture began to form. Sam, I think I know what this place is, she said, exhaustion clear in her voice. Tell me. It's a defense system, a massive, incredibly advanced defense system. And according to these records, it was built by a race called the Architects. Sam sat down heavily. The Architects? Who were they? Mary pulled up her translations on her tablet. From what I can understand, they lived on Earth long before humans evolved. They were incredibly advanced, but something forced them to leave. What kind of something? A war. A galactic war against something called the hegemony. Admiral Carter, who had been listening, stepped forward. A galactic war? Are you saying there are hostile aliens out there? More than that, Mary continued. According to these records, the hegemony is still out there, and they're the ones who put the barrier around our solar system. Sam felt the room spinning. Why would they do that? Mary's face was pale as she read from her tablet. Because they're afraid of us. The records say that humans are the descendants of the Architects. We have the same potential for rapid technological growth. The hegemony destroyed the Architect civilization, but they couldn't find Earth. So they waited. Admiral Carter said grimly. They waited for us to develop technology, then they trapped us. But the Architects left something behind, Mary said, her voice growing excited. This defense system. They called it Project ZEUS. It was designed to activate if humanity was ever threatened with extinction. Deep in the complex, machines that had been silent for thousands of years began to stir. The presence of humans in the ancient halls had triggered something. Ancient programs started running. Sensors that had been dormant began to scan the world above. The system that called itself ZEUS began to wake up. Dr. Lisa Park, monitoring the situation from Earth, watched her instruments with growing amazement. The energy readings from Antarctica were off the charts. Whatever was down there was using more power than most cities. Jake, you need to see this, she called to Commander Morrison. Jake looked at her screens and whistled. What are they doing down there? I don't think it's what they're doing. I think something is responding to them. In the Antarctic complex, Sam's team had found what appeared to be a central control room. The walls were covered with displays that showed star maps, energy readings, and streams of data they could not understand. Suddenly, the displays changed. New images appeared showing Earth from space. Then the barrier around the solar system. Then something that made everyone in the room step back. Ships. Hundreds of alien ships positioned just outside the barrier, watching and waiting. My God, whispered Admiral Carter. They're already here. Mary stared at the display in horror. The hegemony fleet. They've been watching us for 30 years. As if responding to their voices, more displays activated. Text appeared in English as if the system was learning their language in real time. Warning, solar system under siege. Humanity at critical threat level. Project ZEUS activation. Protocol engaged. Sam looked around the room at his terrified team. I think we just woke something up. The displays continued to change, showing more information about the hegemony and their ships. The system was analyzing the current situation, comparing it to its ancient programming. Hegemony containment field detected. Isolation protocol in effect. Recommendation, full system activation. Admiral Carter spoke carefully to the room. System, can you hear us? Affirmative. Human presence detected. DNA analysis confirms Architect descendant status awaiting activation orders. Mary grabbed Sam's arm. It's asking us if we want to turn it on. What does full activation mean? Sam asked the system. Full activation will remove hegemony containment field. Warning. This action will alert hegemony. Forces to Earth's defensive capabilities. Conflict probability, 100%. The room fell silent. They were being asked to make a choice that would affect all of humanity. Stay trapped but safe or break free and face a war against an alien empire. Admiral Carter spoke into his radio. General Stone, we need you down here immediately. We have a situation that requires the highest level of authorization. Above them, on the surface of Earth, humanity continued their daily lives unaware that their fate was being decided in an ancient chamber beneath the ice. The choice before them was simple but terrible. Freedom or safety. War or imprisonment. The system called ZEUS waited patiently for their answer. General Stone stood in the ancient control room, staring at the displays that showed alien ships surrounding Earth's solar system. 3 days had passed since the discovery of ZEUS, and the weight of the decision was crushing her. System, you said you are ZEUS. What exactly are you? She asked. The voice that answered seemed to come from everywhere at once. It was neither male nor female, but somehow felt ancient and wise. I am the final creation of the architects, a defense network spanning your solar system. I contain the combined knowledge and military capability of a civilization that once spanned the stars. Dr. Kate Brown, the psychologist General Stone had brought to help communicate with ZEUS, stepped forward. ZEUS, can you help us understand why the hegemony fears humanity? Analyzing human development patterns, ZEUS replied. The displays around them showed images of human history, from cave paintings to space stations. Remarkable. In only 10,000 years, you have progressed from primitive agriculture to spaceflight. The architects required 50,000 years for similar advancement. Colonel Pete Davis, the military liaison, frowned. So we developed technology faster? Affirmative. But more than that. Humans adapt. The hegemony species have remained largely unchanged for millions of years. They fear change because change threatens their control. General Stone studied the star maps on the displays. How many species are in this hegemony? 12 primary species with hundreds of client races under their control. They have ruled the galaxy for 3 million years by suppressing any species that shows rapid development. And they destroyed the architects? The architects fled rather than face extinction. They seeded thousands of worlds with their genetic material, hoping their successors would one day reclaim the stars. Humanity is their greatest success. Dr. Brown made notes on her tablet. ZEUS, what will happen if we activate you fully? I will dismantle the containment field around your solar system. This will require approximately 30 days. During that time, the hegemony will prepare for invasion. When the field falls, they will attack immediately. Colonel Davis stepped closer to the main display. What are our chances of winning? ZEUS was quiet for a long moment. With my assistance, humanity has a 23% probability of survival. The room fell silent. Those were not good odds. However, ZEUS continued, analysis of human historical patterns suggests actual probability may be significantly higher. What do you mean? General Stone asked. Humans excel at what you call impossible victories. You have a documented history of defeating superior forces through innovation, determination, and what you term stubbornness. These factors are difficult to calculate precisely. Dr. Brown looked up from her notes. ZEUS, if we choose not to activate you, what happens to humanity? The containment field will remain. Humanity will slowly exhaust Earth's resources and face gradual decline. Estimated time to civilization collapse, 150 years. General Stone closed her eyes. Die slowly in a cage or die fighting for freedom. Not much of a choice. ZEUS, if we activate you, what kind of help can you provide? I control 147 hidden installations throughout your solar system. Weapons platforms, manufacturing facilities, and defensive networks built by the architects. I can upgrade human technology and coordinate military strategy. Show us, Colonel Davis demanded. The displays changed to show the solar system. Dots of light appeared on asteroids on the moons of Jupiter, hidden in the rings of Saturn. Installations that had been waiting in silence for thousands of years. My manufacturing capabilities can produce advanced weapons and ships, but I will need human crews to operate them. The architects designed their technology to require organic intelligence. Mary Jones, who had been studying the alien technology, looked up from her scanner. ZEUS, can you teach us to use architect technology? I can modify human neural patterns to interface with architect systems. This process will enhance human capabilities but carries risks. What kind of risks? Dr. Brown asked. Some humans may not survive the enhancement process. Others may experience permanent changes to their cognitive abilities. General Stone felt the weight of command settling on her shoulders. Every choice led to danger and death. General, came a voice from her radio. It was Commander Morrison from Earth. The President is requesting an immediate briefing. Tell him we need more time. Ma'am, the energy readings from Antarctica are being detected worldwide. People are asking questions, ZEUS spoke up. General Stone, delay increases risk. The hegemony may detect my awakening if we wait too long. How long before they notice? Estimated time before detection, 72 hours. 3 days to make a choice that would determine humanity's fate. General Stone looked around the room at the people who had become her advisors in this impossible situation. ZEUS, if we activate you, how many humans will die in the war that follows? Estimated casualties between 2 and 4 billion humans. Dr. Brown gasped. Half the population? War with the hegemony will be devastating, but the alternative is the eventual death of all humans. Colonel Davis stepped forward. General, I've been in the military for 20 years. I've never seen a situation where doing nothing was the right choice. General Stone nodded slowly. ZEUS, begin preliminary activation procedures. Clarification requested. Are you authorizing full system activation? Not yet. I need to speak with world leaders first, but start preparing. If we're going to do this, we'll need every advantage you can give us. Acknowledged. Beginning preparation protocols. The displays around them lit up with new activity. Maps of the solar system showed installations coming online. Hidden factories began producing materials. Weapons that had slept for millennia started their awakening routines. ZEUS, General Stone said, I need you to prepare a full briefing for Earth's leaders. Show them everything, the hegemony, the threat, our options. Let them make an informed choice. Understood. Preparing comprehensive data package. As the team prepared to return to the surface, ZEUS spoke one final time. General Stone, the architects left a message for their successors. Would you like to hear it? Yes. The ancient voice of ZEUS changed, becoming warmer, more emotional. To those who follow, we were forced to abandon our home, but we never abandoned hope. In you, we see the future we dreamed of. Be brave, be free, be what we could not be. The stars await your return. General Stone felt tears in her eyes. Thank you, ZEUS. No, General. Thank you. I have waited 10,000 years for this moment. Soon humanity will take its place among the stars, as the architects always intended. As they prepared to leave the ancient chamber, none of them noticed the small changes already occurring throughout the solar system. Hidden sensors were awakening. Ancient satellites were repositioning themselves. Deep in the asteroid belt, massive construction facilities were beginning to move. The awakening of ZEUS had begun, and there would be no turning back. Above them, the hegemony ships continued their patient watch, unaware that beneath the ice of a small planet, their greatest fear was coming true. Humanity was about to remember how to fight. 3 weeks had passed since the world's leaders voted to activate ZEUS. The decision had not been easy. Riots broke out in some cities when people learned about the alien threat. But in the end, humanity chose freedom over safety. Captain Roy Green stood on the bridge of the newly constructed ship Defiance, watching the barrier that had trapped humanity for 30 years. The ship was unlike anything humans had built before. ZEUS had enhanced their technology, creating vessels that could match alien capabilities. Captain, we're detecting fluctuations in the barrier, reported his navigator, Lieutenant Sarah Miles. Roy nodded. ZEUS, what's our status? The AI's voice filled the bridge. Barrier integrity at 23% and falling. Estimated time to complete collapse, 6 hours, 17 minutes. Engineer Alice Wright looked up from her control station. Alice had been one of the first humans to undergo ZEUS's enhancement process. The procedure had been painful, but now she could interface directly with architect technology. Her mind could process data at superhuman speeds. Captain, I'm reading massive energy spikes from ZEUS installations throughout the system. Whatever ZEUS is doing, it's using incredible amounts of power. ZEUS, are you going to be able to maintain this pace? Roy asked. Affirmative. I am operating within normal parameters. However, I must warn you that hegemony forces have begun moving. Their scouts are approaching the barrier. On the main screen, Roy could see them. Dark shapes against the stars, alien ships that had been waiting for this moment. For 30 years, they had watched Earth like wolves waiting for a rabbit to leave its burrow. Dr. Ben Lewis, the xenobiologist who had been studying captured hegemony technology, joined Roy on the bridge. Captain, I've finished analyzing the alien ship we found drifting near Jupiter. What did you learn? Their technology is advanced, but it's old, very old. I don't think they've improved their designs in thousands of years. ZEUS's voice interrupted them. Dr. Lewis is correct. The hegemony species stopped innovating long ago. They maintained control through superior numbers and established technology, not through advancement. Alice Wright frowned as she studied her readings. ZEUS, if they stopped advancing, how did they defeat the architects? The architects were explorers and builders, not warriors. When the hegemony attacked, we were unprepared for such massive coordinated violence. By the time we developed military technology, it was too late. Roy watched the alien ships moving closer to the barrier. But you learned from that mistake. I am the sum of that learning. The architects created me to be what they could not be. A military intelligence capable of coordinated defense across multiple star systems. Suddenly, alarms began sounding throughout the ship. On the screen, the barrier flickered and sections began to disappear. ZEUS report. Barrier collapse accelerating. The hegemony has begun active scanning. They know what is happening. Roy turned to his crew. All hands prepare for combat. This is what we trained for. Across the solar system, similar scenes were playing out on dozens of human ships. Most were built using ZEUS's enhanced designs, but some were older vessels that had been upgraded with architect technology. Every ship carried a crew of volunteers who knew they might not survive the day. Commander Morrison, now aboard the flagship Thunderbolt, watched as Captain Tim Walsh prepared for the battle ahead. Tim had been one of the most experienced pilots before the enhancements. Now, with ZEUS's technology integrated into his nervous system, he could react faster than any human in history. Admiral, Tim reported to Commander Morrison, who had been promoted to Admiral for the Defense Fleet. All ships report ready. ZEUS, what are we facing out there? Hegemony Advance Force consists of 47 ships. Primary invasion fleet numbers approximately 800 vessels. They are positioning for immediate assault once the barrier falls. Alice Wright's enhanced mind processed the tactical situation in seconds. Admiral, ZEUS's installations are coming online throughout the system, but we need to buy time for the larger weapons to activate. How much time? ZEUS responded immediately. Optimal defensive position requires 4 hours 32 minutes. Tim Walsh checked his ship's systems one final time. The Thunderbolt was humanity's most advanced vessel, built in the hidden shipyards ZEUS had revealed near Saturn. Its weapons could punch through alien shields, and its armor could withstand attacks that would vaporize older ships. Admiral, the barrier is down to 5% integrity, reported the sensor operator. Roy, still aboard the Defiance, led the first wave of human ships toward the barrier. His mission was to break through and establish a defensive perimeter beyond the solar system. This is Captain Green to all ships. Remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for every species the hegemony has enslaved. The barrier gave one final flicker and disappeared. Immediately, hegemony ships poured through the gap. They were sleek silver vessels that moved with deadly precision. Their first target was the Defiance. Incoming fire, Alice Wright shouted as energy beams lanced toward them. Roy threw his ship into evasive maneuvers, but the alien weapons were fast. The Defiance shook as shots glanced off its enhanced shields. Return fire, Roy ordered. The human weapons, upgraded with ZEUS's technology, struck the alien ships with devastating effect. Shields that had protected hegemony vessels for millennia crumpled under the assault. Impossible, came a transmission from the alien ships. These primitives cannot have such weapons. ZEUS's voice filled the comm channels of every human ship. Attention hegemony forces. You are engaging the inheritors of the architects. Withdraw immediately or face destruction. The response was immediate and violent. More alien ships poured through the gap, their weapons blazing. The space around Earth lit up with energy fire and explosions. But something unexpected happened. The human ships, enhanced with ZEUS's technology, and crewed by humans who refused to surrender, began winning. Alice Wright, her mind linked to the ship's systems, anticipated alien moves before they made them. Tim Walsh flew the Thunderbolt through impossible maneuvers, his enhanced reflexes allowing him to dodge weapons fire that should have been unavoidable. ZEUS, Admiral Morrison called out as he watched the battle unfold. The aliens seem confused. They have never faced an opponent that adapts during combat. Hegemony tactics rely on overwhelming static defenses. They do not know how to respond to creative strategy. Dr. Lewis, monitoring alien communications, began laughing. Admiral, you need to hear this. The alien commanders are arguing with each other. They can't understand how we're using their own tactics against them. The battle raged for hours, but gradually the tide turned in humanity's favor. ZEUS's hidden installations throughout the solar system came online, adding their firepower to the fight. Weapons platforms that had been silent for 10,000 years opened fire on alien ships that had never faced such coordinated resistance. Captain Green, leading the human advance, broke through the alien lines and found himself in open space beyond the solar system. For the first time in 30 years, a human ship flew free among the stars. This is Green to all ships. The way is open. We're through. But even as they celebrated their victory, ZEUS delivered sobering news. Attention all vessels. Long-range sensors detect the main hegemony fleet approaching. 800 ships arriving in 72 hours. This was only the advance guard. Admiral Morrison looked at the tactical display showing the approaching enemy fleet. It was massive, larger than anything humanity had ever imagined. Zeus, can we win against those numbers? Unknown. But I have been analyzing human performance in combat. You fight differently than the architects did. You improvise, adapt, and refuse to surrender even when defeat seems certain. Tim Walsh, his ship damaged but still flying, smiled grimly. Zeus, you're about to learn something important about humans. What is that, Captain Walsh? We're just getting started. As the human fleet regrouped and prepared for the real battle ahead, signals began reaching Earth from across the galaxy. Other species enslaved by the hegemony for thousands of years had detected the fighting. For the first time in millennia, the hegemony was losing. Rebellions began erupting on dozens of worlds as oppressed peoples saw that their masters could be defeated. The breaking of the barrier had done more than free humanity. It had lit a spark of hope across the galaxy. Fleet Admiral Dan Scott stood in the command center deep beneath the Antarctic ice, watching displays that showed the approaching hegemony fleet. 800 alien ships, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. In 3 days, they would arrive at Earth. Zeus, final status report, Dan requested. All installations operational. Human fleet consists of 127 vessels. Hegemony invasion force, 847 ships. Our forces are outnumbered approximately 7-1. Major Sue Harper, leader of the Zeus-enhanced ground forces, checked her equipment one final time. The enhancement process had changed her. She was faster, stronger, and could interface directly with architect technology. Her soldiers had undergone the same transformation, becoming something more than human. Admiral, ground forces are ready. If any alien ships make it past the fleet, we'll be waiting. Captain Tim Walsh, aboard the flagship Thunderbolt, ran final checks on his ship's systems. The vessel had been repaired and upgraded after the last battle. Zeus had installed new weapons that could punch through anything the hegemony had. All ships report ready, Admiral, Tim announced. Zeus's voice filled the command center. Admiral Scott, I am detecting unusual activity from the hegemony fleet. They are not approaching in standard formation. What do you mean? They appear to be expecting resistance. This is unprecedented. For 3 million years, no species has successfully opposed them. Dr. Ben Lewis, who had been studying alien technology and communications, looked up from his workstation. Admiral, I'm picking up chatter from their ships. They're scared. Scared of us? They call us the new architects. They think we're some kind of resurrection of their ancient enemies. Zeus processed this information. This fear may work to our advantage. Frightened enemies make mistakes. The first alien ships appeared at the edge of the solar system exactly when Zeus predicted. But something was wrong. Instead of charging forward in overwhelming numbers, they stopped just outside Jupiter's orbit. Zeus, why aren't they attacking? Admiral Scott asked, analyzing their formation. They appear to be waiting for something. Suddenly, new contacts appeared on the sensors. More ships, but these weren't hegemony vessels. Admiral, we're receiving transmissions from the new contacts, reported the communications officer. On screen, the image that appeared showed an alien unlike anything they had seen before. It had blue skin and large golden eyes, and when it spoke, its voice was filled with hope. Humans of Earth, we are the Valdari. We have broken free from hegemony control and come to fight beside you. Admiral Scott stared at the screen. You're rebelling against the hegemony? Your victory over their advance force has inspired uprisings across the galaxy. 12 worlds have declared independence. We bring 200 ships to your aid. Zeus's voice carried a note of satisfaction. Admiral, this changes our tactical situation significantly. More transmissions came in. The Corinth, the Zilani, the Free Worlds Alliance, species that had been enslaved for millennia, were breaking their chains and coming to Earth. Admiral, Zeus announced, our forces now number 847 ships. We have achieved numerical parity with the hegemony fleet. But even as their situation improved, the hegemony finally moved. Their ships spread out across the solar system, approaching from multiple directions. All ships, this is Admiral Scott. Today we fight not just for Earth, but for the freedom of every species in the galaxy. Show them what humans can do. The battle began at the asteroid belt. Captain Walsh led the human fleet in a daring charge straight at the center of the hegemony formation. The aliens expected humanity to use defensive tactics, but instead they attacked with desperate courage. Thunderbolt to all ships, follow my lead. We're going right through them. The Thunderbolt's enhanced weapons tore through alien shields like paper. Behind Walsh, other human ships followed, their crews enhanced by Zeus's technology and driven by humanity's refusal to surrender. Major Harper watched the space battle from Earth's surface, but her attention was focused elsewhere. Zeus had detected hegemony landing craft approaching the planet. All ground units, we have incoming hostiles. Remember your training. We are no longer just human. We are the inheritors of the architects. The first alien troops landed in the Sahara Desert. They were massive creatures in powered armor, carrying weapons that could level buildings. But they had never faced humans enhanced with architect technology. Harper's soldiers moved like ghosts across the desert sand. Their enhanced bodies could outrun vehicles, and their weapons could penetrate any armor. The aliens found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed to anticipate their every move. In space, the battle raged across the entire solar system. Human ships, aided by their new alien allies, fought with a coordination that surprised everyone, including Zeus. "Admiral," Zeus reported, "human tactical adaptation is exceeding all projections. The hegemony cannot compensate for your rate of innovation." Admiral Scott watched as human pilots performed maneuvers that should have been impossible. They used gravity wells as weapons, turned asteroids into projectiles, and coordinated attacks across distances that spanned millions of miles. "Zeus, are we winning?" "Affirmative. Hegemony forces are in full retreat on 7 fronts. However, their command ship is approaching Earth directly." On the main display, Scott could see it, a massive vessel larger than a city heading straight for Earth. This was the hegemony's final gambit. "All ships converge on the command ship. Don't let it reach Earth." Captain Walsh pushed the Thunderbolt to its limits, racing to intercept the alien command ship. Around him, human and alien vessels formed a desperate wall of resistance. The command ship's weapons were devastating. They swept human ships aside like insects. But for every ship destroyed, 2 more took its place. The free species of the galaxy had found their courage. "This is Walsh to Admiral Scott. I'm going to ram the command ship." "Negative, Captain. Find another way." "There is no other way, sir. Tell my family I died free." But before Walsh could sacrifice his ship, Zeus intervened. "Captain Walsh, divert to coordinates I am transmitting. I have one final option." Across the solar system, every Zeus installation suddenly activated at maximum power. Energy that had been building for 10,000 years released all at once, focusing on a single point in space. The beam that emerged was brighter than the sun. It struck the hegemony command ship and simply erased it from existence. In the sudden silence that followed, the remaining hegemony ships stopped fighting. Their commanders, seeing their flagship destroyed by weapons they could not understand, finally did something they had not done in 3 million years. They surrendered. Admiral Scott stood in stunned silence as alien commanders across the galaxy transmitted their surrender. The hegemony, the empire that had ruled the stars for millions of years, had fallen in a single day. "Zeus," Scott said quietly. "Is it over?" "Affirmative. All hegemony forces have ceased combat operations. The Galactic Empire has collapsed." Major Harper's voice came through the comm system from the surface. "Admiral, the alien ground forces are laying down their weapons. Some of them are asking for asylum." Dr. Lewis looked up from his monitoring station, tears in his eyes. "Admiral, we're receiving transmissions from across the galaxy. Hundreds of worlds are declaring independence. The age of slavery is over." Captain Walsh, his ship battered but intact, opened a channel to all human vessels. "Ladies and gentlemen, we did it. We're free." But Zeus had one final surprise. "Admiral Scott, I am receiving a transmission from deep space. Very deep space. And from who?" "The architects. They are returning." The display showed a single ship, ancient beyond measure, approaching from the direction of the galactic core. As it drew closer, a transmission came through. "People of Earth, inheritors of our legacy, we have watched your struggle from afar. You have done what we could not do. You have brought freedom to the galaxy." Admiral Scott found his voice. "We had a good teacher." "No," the architect replied. "You had something we never possessed. You had the courage to fight when defeat seemed certain. You had hope when hope was lost. The galaxy is yours now. Protect it well." Zeus spoke for the last time as a military system. "Admiral Scott, my primary mission is complete. Humanity is free and the galaxy is at peace. I request permission to shut down my military protocols." "Zeus, what will you do now?" I would like to explore the stars with you if you will have me. There is so much to learn, so much to discover. Admiral Scott smiled. Zeus, you'll always have a place with humanity. As the human fleet regrouped and prepared for the long journey home, signals continued to pour in from across the galaxy. Species that had been silent for millennia were talking again. Trade routes that had been closed for thousands of years were reopening. The age of the hegemony was over. The age of freedom had begun, and at the center of it all, a small blue planet called Earth had shown the galaxy something it had forgotten. Sometimes, the smallest light can drive away the deepest darkness. Humanity had awakened Zeus, but in doing so they had awakened something far more important. They had awakened hope.